Hi, it's Jen. Today I wanted to share with you this simple waterfall ephemera piece that I made for my junk journals. And all the different papers that I use for I'm going to share and different ways you can decorate with them. So let's begin. So today I'm going to make one a little bit thinner than the one you see in front of you. This one, the width is 3 3/4 inches wide. And the longest piece of paper is 5 1/4 inches long. And so I'm going to put all the measurements down below for the two different set of waterfall ephemera pieces that I'm doing today. So if you don't catch any of the measurements, I will have them listed down below. Now, the reason I did this is because in my junk journal that I'm using for myself, I have a lot of scrapbook paper, and I wanted to be able to put pictures on here, but then I also wanted to write about my pictures. So this is why I came up with this waterfall ephemera piece, is so that way now I can put pictures all in behind here, and then I can journal about them here in the waterfall piece. And then I put a paper clip, attached it to the side just to keep all the papers compact, and also so that way it attaches to the scrapbook paper. You don't have to keep these loose in your junk journals. You can also place them on the sides of the bottom of your paper and then just glue down the one side and across the bottom. And then now you have a tuck spot where you can put more, got caught on thread. You can put tags in there as well. Or you can even glue it to the middle of your page and use this side as a tuck spot right here. It's just however you want to use them. Another way I like to use it is when I have pages like this, flip pages. I like to glue them onto the side of the paper, and then that way you have something to flip your paper. And then I also use this as a pocket. So what I would do is I would glue it right here all the way down the one side and across to the other side to the edge of the paper again, and that way when you flip it you have a pocket here and then a big wide open space of journaling you can do. So these are really handy to have just to fill in any space that you may need to quickly fill. So I'm going to go over the measurements for this one that I used. The first paper is like a tracing paper. The second one is a craft paper. The third is computer paper. The fourth is ledger paper. And then the bottom one is just a white cardstock. I suggest using a cardstock for the base if you're going to keep your waterfall just open, not glued down. And even if you're gluing it down to a piece of paper, I would suggest using a cardstock for the back, just so that way there's stability there. Stability for all your other papers and for when you want to start writing. So I do suggest that. And so the first paper, the width on each of these pieces are 3 inches and 3/4, so 3 3/4 inches wide. The first length is 3 1/4 inches long, then 3 3/4, 4 1/4, 4 3/4, and 5 1/4. So basically what I did is I figured out how long I wanted my waterfall to be, and then I just subtracted a 1/2 inch every time I did a piece of paper. And of course you can make up whatever size you want. You could do a waterfall so that way it filled the whole page, and that would look really nice. And then use the side as a tuck spot. It's just whatever you want to design or whatever you need for that journal. So how about we get started in making one. So first you need to choose what papers you want. Again, I just chose these just because I had them already tea dyed, and I didn't want to put any book papers or anything because I wanted this to be strictly for journaling with. And so this one is only 3 inches wide, just because I really like the 3 3/4 inches, but for the books that I'm making right now, I needed something a little bit thinner, so I went with 3 inches. All the other measurements for the length of the papers are the same, but I will go over them again. So for the length for the first one is 3 1/4 inches long. For the craft card, it's 3 3/4. Computer paper is 4 1/4. The ledger paper is 4 3/4. And for the cardstock, it's 5 1/4 inches long. So those are the measurements that I did. So the first thing is to decide what papers you want to use and your length and then your width as well. So once you have them all cut out, what I usually do, you can make stacks of them, but what I usually do is I use these sewing clips. And if you're a sewer, you know what they are, but if you're not familiar with them, they've made these sewing clips so that way you don't have to use needles anymore while you sew. And this will just keep your material together, attach it with your pattern. And so I keep these handy in my craft room to use for sewing and for my paper crafts. So that's what I do to keep them all together, is after I cut them and put each one together, I put the clips on them just to keep them together. And then I just make a stack of them. Then the next thing I do is I decide if I want to round the corners at all. Now I choose to round the corners to mine just because a lot of our junk journal books are square corners, and so I like to do the round corner just to soften up the journal. And not only to soften it up, but it just brings interest, something different to your journal making. So you just round the corner with them, and then I just put them back. And doing a line of these is great because what you can do when you're down in your craft space, you could cut them all and then just put them in a pile in a container, and then while you're watching TV, you could corner round them all if that's what you decide to do. And the corner rounder that I use is the Crocodile Corner Chomper, and it does 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. And that is from We Are Memory Keepers. I don't remember if I said it. And then the next thing to do is to ink all around your edges. At this stage, it's the inking time. It's inking all around your edges, and it's stamping any pictures that you want or any sayings, greetings, what have you. It just depends on what you would like. Now, the reason why I kept mine pretty easy and I didn't stamp anything on the other papers except the top one, because I want this to be a nice spot for doing a lot of journaling. And then even the recipient of the journals, just stamping something like a small sentiment is not a lot to do if they want something else, because the journal is basically done, and then now it's just adding your personal style to it, right? So I just ink it all around the edges, and then I do my stamping now. And then this is the time that I prepare to get it to be sewed. Now, in order for this to be able to go through your sewing machine, just make sure all my sides are together. I clamp them down here. That way, I don't have to take them apart. When I first started doing this, I would clamp them up at the top, like I did when I, at the corner rounder stage, I kept them like this. Well, when I try to feed them through, I would have to take it out. So I started putting it at the side, but I put it too close to the top. So I would suggest putting it down a bit because it does hold your paper. Your papers won't move if you keep the clips there. So that has helped me out a bit. And then also at this stage, it's time to decide if you want a piece of material at the top or if you want ribbon, or it just depends on what you would like to do. But I would like to encourage you to be reminded that you're going to have to flip the pages of your book. So you don't want to put too much right up at the top, because if you do, you won't be able to lift your pages. So another thing that you can do is just make, you could add a piece of material right here. Actually, that is cute there. You could add a piece of material to be a flip piece. And then add, I did do a waterfall that has that. I will show you. And here it is. So this waterfall only has 4 pieces of paper. And then I added this material flip. And then I added lace and some rickrack. So however you want to decorate, it's fun to try to come up with some new ideas. But the only thing that I would, again, remind you is you want to be able to pull up your papers so you can journal on them. So if you put too much stuff at the top here, you're going to have a hard time writing on your papers. So just keep that at the back of your mind. I like that there. I'm going to share with you a find that I got at the thrift store. I had gone thrifting with my daughter, and I came across this whole bag of hexagons for 29 cents. And I like finding stuff like this because it's all different materials. And the lady who cut them all, you know, they're not all perfect, but I like that. It makes it look cute in your junk journals. And it makes me think about the lady who did cut them, and if it was an older lady, because what she was doing with them, she was making a flower with them. There's a couple of the flowers in the bag itself. So I thought that was kind of neat. So that was a good find for only 29 cents. So keep your eyes open. And then, so after I get it prepped for sewing, and then after I ink it and stamp on it, and then I sew it. And this is what she looks like. Now with this one, I kept it plain because the journals that I'm making, I wanted it to be plain. And then, I don't know if you can see, but when I sewed it, I did some straight sewing, and then I did a zigzag stitch, and then I went back to straight sewing. And then how I'm going to attach this to the book is I have some rusted paper clips that I have done, and then I cut a thin strip of the muslin cloth that I tea-dyed and made a bow. And then I did tie a knot on the ends just for it to be fun. And I'm just going to do this with it. And this way, it does keep your papers together, but it also adds something cute as well to your waterfall. So I hope you give this a try. These were so fun to do, trying to think of different ways to decorate with them. But I hope you give these a try. And anything that I've used, I will put down below, like the bird stamp. Just in case you're wondering, it's from Stampcraft, and it's named Chirp. So I will link that, not link it, but I will write it down below so you'll know what I used. But I hope you have a good time making these waterfall ephemera pieces. And until next time, remember, don't throw away your junk. Journal with it. Take care. Bye.